This week's Torah reading discusses, among other topics of course, the laws of the Yovel, the weirdly transliterated Jubilee, in which, among other things, everyone gets to return to his ancestral property. So in the Torah system, you cannot permanently sell land. If I sell you, quote unquote, sell you a piece of land, it's actually just a long-term lease, or short-term lease, depends. If there are 17 years until the Yovel, I am selling you the next 17 years worth of ownership, use of that land. Which means that if I'm selling it to you 17 years before the Yovel, I might charge $17,000 for a parcel of land, but if it's 43 years until the Yovel, I'll charge you $43,000 for the sale, because you're getting it for 43 years. It's always a long-term lease. In the ACT, as we are here, very close to Parliament House, there is no private ownership of land. Everything is owned by the Crown. And all you have is a 99-year lease when you quote-unquote buy a piece of land. You're not buying it. It's a lease. That's to maintain the federal capital nature of the territory. And that way, in case the government decide they want to do something with it, they can always just wait up the 99 years and then take it back. You own your house, which is an interesting bit of a thing. So that runs into some legal questions. If they decide to resume your land, they have to pay for the house. Okay, side point. Getting into a bit of a digression, I tend to do that. What's the point these days? Modern economic theory and modern societal and political discourse, we hear all sorts of terms thrown around like wealth redistribution, which to some sounds like the best thing ever and to some sounds like the worst thing ever. We hear about predatory lending. We hear about corporate oligarchies and the like. Thing is, the old saying is an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. Instead of waiting until we have people who are flat out destitute and then wondering what social programs can we use to alleviate these conditions, let's try to stop it before it happens. Because it is fully possible for someone to end up in such a situation that he has nothing. And you can't make something from nothing. They say it takes money to make money. It's true. These days, people who have money buy houses and they rent them to people who don't. As long as you're paying rent, you can't afford to get your own house. Often rents will be more than mortgages. But because you don't have the firm asset base, you can't buy another house. People who already have a house have a firm asset base. And they use that to buy another house. And the cycle repeats and it gets worse. It's what's called a vicious cycle. The Torah says, no, we're not doing this. It's not so much a wealth redistribution. You bought land, but now you have to give it back. If a person sells his ancestral land, it's not always, but very often because he needs the money. He can't afford it. It's a source of income. Bearing in mind that 99% of the world population at the time were agrarian. If you have a piece of land, you're a farmer. Almost everybody was a farmer. That's your income. And if you sell your land, what are you? You've got no income. Or maybe become a sharecropper, where 1/3 of everything you grow has to go to the landlord, and you only get to keep 2/3 of the fruits of your own labor. Not a good situation. A person who's in a desperate situation needs the income, but has to sell his source of income to keep himself alive another day in order to hope to find another source of income. So the idea is that this is wealth redistribution. I had to sell my land and I want it back. So we are taking it from those who have and giving it to those who have not. No, that's not actually what's happening. It's a preventative measure. The Torah is saying you cannot sell your land. It is built into society that we do not let people get into this situation. Yes, it will still happen. Despite this, it will still happen. It can and it does. And even working around this, there are still always going to be those who have more and those who have less. Sometimes you're lucky and you get a good piece of land. Sometimes you don't. Sometimes you end up with an earthquake that destroys your farm. Stuff happens. The world's a mess. And there will always be poverty. The Torah itself in another place says that explicitly. There will always be poverty. Poverty will not cease from the land. But it's not that we're saying that we're taking from the haves and giving to the have-nots. We're setting up the system in such a way that we don't get such extremes. You cannot sell your land. Now, if I am poor and I refuse to sell my land, I only want to lease it, okay, a potential buyer / lessor will just say, okay, you know what, lessee, will just say, nah, stuff it, I'll go buy from someone else. When the entire system is set up that you cannot permanently buy someone else's land, all you can do is lease. Then nobody has any objections. That's the way the system is. So yes, you may be struggling. Yes, it may be 17 years till the next Yovel, or it may be 43 years till the next Yovel. But ultimately, there is some recourse. You will get your land back. But that's a thing. It's a preventative measure. We set up the system so that we don't have to come to wealth redistribution. Ultimately, an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure, and the Torah sees to it. So, if you know someone who needs help, okay, good that you help him. But if you see someone who's getting to a situation where he needs help him before he gets there. Good luck with that. Shabbat shalom.